Each Your Flight International publishes an overview, a list of the most used combat aircraft in the world. In this video, I will list these aircraft. Can you guess which combat aircraft is the most widely used? Let me know in the comments. At number 10, we have the Sukhoi Su-25 with 408 units in service worldwide. The Su-25 was introduced in 1981 after the Soviets analyzed ground attack aviation during the 40s, 50s, and 60s. The then active jet fighters like the Su-7, MiG-21, and MiG-23 lacked the necessary requirements to fulfill the role of ground attacker. These fighters lacked the armor protection and flew too fast for the pilot to maintain visual contact with the ground target. The Su-25 is designed to meet those requirements. Not only better armored, the Su-25 has 30mm autocannon with 250 rounds and 11 hardpoints to carry up to 9,700 pounds or 4,400 kilograms of ordnance. Around 1,000 Su-25 were produced until 2017, of which 408 are still in service. At 9, we have the Sukhoi 24. In 1961, the Soviets deployed the Sukhoi Su-7B. This aircraft was intended as an all-weather precision strike fighter. Yet the Su-7 lacked room for all required avionics. So Sukhoi started the development of an alternative under the code name Puma. That replacement became the Su-24, which shares some similarities with the American F-111. Both aircraft use a side-by-side cockpit with a variable geometry wing. But unlike the F-111, each crew member has its own separate ejection seat in the Su-24. Also, unlike the F-111, the Su-24 has a single 23mm rotary cannon with 500 rounds, 9 hardpoints with a capacity of 17,635 pounds or 8,000 kilograms of ordnance. In total, 1,400 Su-24s were produced between 1967 and 1993. 415 of them remain in active duty today. If you like this style of videos, you can support the channel by subscribing and hitting the like button. I post a new video every week. On 8, we can find the Chengdu J-7. In 1962, the Soviet Union and China signed a technology transfer agreement for the MiG-21. China received some finished MiG-21s and parts and documentation to build MiGs themselves. However, the Chinese quickly discovered that technical documents were missing and some parts were unusable, forcing them to reverse engineering the MiG. Because some parts and systems in the license-built version differ so much from the original MiG, a different name and classification is warranted. The Chinese produced the J-7 from 1965 to 2013, and of the 2,400 produced, 444 are still in active duty. On 7 stands the Eurofighter Typhoon, a jointly developed fighter by the UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain. Previously, the UK, Germany, and Italy had gained experience developing aircraft together with the Panavia Tornado. In search for a new air superiority fighter, the 4 countries teamed up. Originally, there was a 5th country member, France, but they decided to go their own way and develop the Rafale fighter. Although designed as an effective dogfighter, later production aircraft have been modified to be better equipped for air-to-surface missions, turning the Eurofighter into a multi-role aircraft. Germany intends to transform 15 existing airframes into electronic warfare aircraft as a replacement for their ECR Tornadoes. Eurofighters are still in production, but 533 units are in active duty with several countries. Of all the aircraft in this list, the F-35 is easily the latest one in terms of technology. The A variant was introduced in 2016, and Lockheed Martin is still in the process of rolling out aircraft for the various air forces which ordered this fighter. The F-35 is a 5th-generation fighter, like the F-22 Raptor, and just like the F-18 and F-16 were produced to complement the F-15 and F-14, the F-35 is meant to do the same with the F-22 Raptor. The F-35 is produced in 3 versions: short takeoff and vertical landing, F-35B, carrier-based, F-35C, and conventional takeoff and landing, F-35A. Not only did the U.S. Navy, Marines, and Air Force purchase the F-35, several NATO countries selected the F-35 as their next fighter, making the F-35 the cornerstone of NATO for the foreseeable future. Production started in 2006 and is obviously still ongoing. Currently, there are 661 aircraft operational. Of all aircraft mentioned in this video, the F-35 is perhaps the only one which might have a shot of removing the current leader from its top spot. Similar to the Americans, who combined heavy fighters in the form of F-15 and F-14s with the lighter F-16 and F-18, the Soviets decided to combine the heavy Su-27 with the lighter MiG-29. The MiG-29 is intended as a frontline fighter. One of the features of the MiG is that the main air inlet can be closed off while an auxiliary air inlet on the upper fuselage is used during takeoff. This protects the engines from ingesting ground debris. Another feature of the MiG-29 was that the pilots used a helmet-mounted weapon sight to aim their Wimpel heat-seeking missiles. During dissimilar fights with German MiG-29s, this combination gave the MiGs an advantage in combat against the Western fighters lacking this capability. The MiG-29 is still in production, and around 809 are in active duty with various air forces around the world. When the United States was looking for a lightweight fighter to complement their heavier and more expensive F-15 and F-14 fighters, two aircraft were pitted against each other, the YF-16 and the YF-17. The YF-16 won the competition, but this did not mean the YF-17 lost. Further developed into the F-18, the aircraft was picked up by the Navy and Marines to fight from the carrier decks of the Navy. But the lightweight fighter program would not be the only time the F-16 and the F-18 competed against each other. Both aircraft were offered to various foreign air forces, but as clear from its fourth position, the F-18 did not always come out as a winner. The Hornet is now replaced by the Super Hornet with the Navy, but there are still 836 active Hornets around the world. The F-15 Eagle's claim to fame is its 100 kills no losses ratio in aerial combat. Developed in the 70s, the F-15 Eagle was America's answer to the latest Soviet fighter, the MiG-25 Foxbat. Believing that the MiG-25 was an air superiority fighter, the Air Force wanted a fighter which could give the MiG a run for his money. The U.S. Air Force had plans to replace all F-15s with the F-22 Raptor, but when the procurement of F-22s stopped after 187 units, F-15s were forced to remain in service until 2026. By then, the F-15s will be replaced not by a fifth-generation aircraft, but by itself. In the mid-80s, a variant of the F-15, the F-15E Strike Eagle, was deployed. The Strike Eagle on its turn became the foundation for a new variant, the F-15EX Eagle II, which should replace the aging F-15C and Ds by 2026. But at the moment, there are still some 941 F-15C and Ds flying in various air forces. The Su-27 entered service in the mid-80s and was intended to fulfill three roles: protecting the motherland against the American B-1B Lancers and B-52G and H Stratofortress bombers, protecting the Soviet coast from American aircraft carriers, and finally provide long-range fighter escort for the Soviet heavy bombers. The Su-27 was further developed into two-seater variant, Su-30, a naval variant, Su-33, and a strike fighter variant, Su-34. The final variant, Su-37, is an improved version of the original Su-27. Just like the Western F-14 and F-15, the Su-27 has a little brother in the MiG-29. The Su-27 is perhaps best known for its performances at air shows, where it showed the famous Pugachev's Cobra, where the aircraft flies at 120 degrees angle of attack without losing altitude. Today, there are 1,243 Su-27 variants still in service, putting the aircraft on the second place of the most widely used fighters. All aircraft mentioned before dwarf in numbers compared to the number one on our list, the F-16 Fighting Falcon. The winner of the square-off with the YF-17, the F-16 is most used plane throughout the world. But its success could not have been possible without four European countries: Belgium, Denmark, Norway, and the Netherlands. These four countries were looking to replace their F-104G starfighters and had formed the Multinational Fighter Program Group in search for a new fighter. They had an agreement that if the U.S. Air Force bought the winner of the lightweight fighter program, they would consider buying it too. In the end, the four countries would buy 523 F-16s. These initial orders led to more than 1,850 export orders for the F-16. In total, over 1,600 units were built, of which 2,145 units are still operational today. Thank you for watching. Follow these links if you want to see more military aviation videos.